You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go. Welcome to the show, my friends, relatives, ladies, and gentlemen. I don't have relatives listen to the show. I don't think any of my relatives listen to the show. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you but doesn't loan you money. So don't ask. Please stop sending messages and ask. We're not that kind of family. We're the kind of family that loves you, even though you might be the black sheep of the family. Other families, you can't pick your family. But we do have one, difference is we just don't like you enough to loan you money. But we do love you in a sort of, I don't know, I can't explain it. Talk to a therapist. Anyway, guys, maybe I need to talk to a therapist. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. As always, we have the most amazing authors and folks on the show telling their amazing journeys and stories. And as we always say, stories are the owner's manual to life. In the meantime, before we get to that, be sure to support the show in any and every way possible, if I can say it. I need coffee, evidently, so you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one, the TikTokity, and Chris Voss on Goodreads.com. That's always good for Goodreads for the authors and books that we have on the show. We have an amazing young lady on the show today. We're going to be talking about her new book called Captured by His Heart, Poetry and Healing and Here, let me recut that, actually. I just butchered it. My bad. Captured by His Heart, Poetry of Healing and Revelation. Monica Hansen joins us on the show with us today. We're going to be talking about her book out June 4th, 2024 this year, hot off the presses. You can check that out for inspiration and everything else. Monica Hansen is the founder of the Graceful Warrior podcast, which empowers believers to drive meaningful change in the world for the glory of God. She is passionate about helping others to put on the full armor of God daily by equipping them with truth by and through the Word of God. She's on a mission to cultivate a powerful community of listeners, equipping them to harness their influence and authority to uphold Christian values and advance the purposes of God, plus encouraging them to mobilize others to blaze the same trail. She's the author of the newest and latest book, and her podcast can be listened to on all audio platforms and her video platforms on Rumble and YouTube. She's also a U.S. Army veteran during the Desert Storm area, and she served 7 years and is now retired, living in the picturesque mountains of Idaho with her husband, Michael. Welcome to the show, Monica. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent as well. We got some inspiration coming down the pike here from you today. So give us your .coms. Where can people find all of your stuff there on the interwebs in the sky?
Well, you could follow. I have an author website. I'm on monica-hansen.com. And you can also check out my podcast, thegracefulwarrior.com.
There you go, thegracefulwarrior.com.
Go.
So give us a 30,000 overview of your new book, Captured by His Heart.
Well, it's crazy. It's Captured by His Heart came after I gave my heart to the Lord. I thought that, that's all that would happen. You give your life to the Lord. You go to church, you pray, you read your Bible, yada, yada, yada. But after all of that, I was like, no. All of a sudden, I started just hearing words hit my heart. And I wake up midnight, 2:00 in the morning, and just hear these words. And I was like, wait. And I was scrambling to grab paper and pen, started writing, and get up the next morning and start reading this. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what does this all mean? So over the course of 4 years, the Lord just started downloading all of these poems to my heart, and I would just throw them in my desk. Didn't know what to do with them for years. And finally, God just said, you know what, it's time, Monica. And I'm like, no, I was like afraid. I was scared to put it all out there. It was totally because of the fact that who reads poetry these days, and what do you offer society out there?
Yeah. There's lots of people who love poetry still. We've had poets on the show before. Yeah.
That's amazing. So there you go. The book came out, and he totally just led me through the whole process of the title, the cover, everything.
Wow, there you
Yeah.
go. So you were inspired through all that. Now, had you ever written poetry before in your life, or did this come out
Ah,
of left field?
Chris, you could not pay me to write a poem. I am the typical Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. So I cannot write worth saving my life, but it was totally God. I mean, it was just crazy. Everything just came to fruition the way it was supposed to be. It was amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So had you ever written anything like maybe inspired to try and write a book before, or it just really just came out of nowhere and inspiration?
It came out of nowhere. I remember
Wow.
writing, a thesis in college. That's about all I
Hmm.
have, So the book just really came, and I remember just throwing all those poems in my desk, just going, I don't know what to do with these, and I
Wow.
don't know what they mean.
Yeah.
So
Inspiration comes at interesting times. And so you
it does.
compiled it all in your book, Captured by His Heart, Poetry of Healing and Revelation. What are you hoping that readers come away with when they read this book?
The same thing that I came away with was the fact of we all ask at some point in our life, what's our purpose here on earth?
Hmm.
And is there really a God? What is heaven like? Looking at all the things that he has created, and I had to look at that myself. So the whole catch is, hey, we've all had those questions, and you could ask those questions to the Lord God Almighty, and he will answer you in
Hmm.
time.
There you go. Those pose the questions and they will come, as it were.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Exactly.
Let's talk about how you were raised and what inspired you. Were you always religious? Did you grow up in a religious family? And what was your journey through life?
I did. I grew up in a Christian environment, but it was like I looked at it as that was my mother's God.
Hmm.
And as I got older and graduated from high school, I didn't want anything to do with God. I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? That's your God. And if he is controlling the way you are, I don't want anything of that. I didn't want that.
Wow.
I didn't see love. I closed my heart. So, under my parents where my father was a Navy veteran, I was raised under that thumb.
Oh wow.
And so it was controlling, it was power, and I didn't want that.
Kind of that
So
strict Navy, strict military sort of.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. My dad
Yes.
used to be like, "I'm gonna make you, you have to bounce a quarter off the bed or whatever it is.
There you go.
So
Yes,
you have to make
yes.
your bed just perfect or something
Yep.
like
The
that."
white glove inspection through the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have survived that. But
Oh man.
my dad
Oh
would
man.
joke that he was going to implement it. He went through just basic training, so
Oh
he
no.
he would just threaten us with that every now and then. And we're like, he was like, in the military they made us do this, and we're like, yeah, but we're not in the military, Dad. We're just kids.
Uh, That's what I thought.
Like, what the hell's going on? I don't remember
Exactly.
signing up for the military at 2. Like,
Neither. Right.
but kids sometimes need some structure. We certainly did. I think as
Exactly.
my kid as kids with me and my brother, we were trouble.
No,
Nothing's really changed either. So,
no.
so.
But the trouble is always there. I think with boys more so girls.
Yeah, it's troubles in the nature of disagreeableness is kind of a manhood thing, and I
Yes,
think
it is.
I think women are more agreeable and they get along better than we do. We have to fight each other and do stuff, and it's a pecking order for tribal hunting and
Mm.
all that crap we do. So you end up somewhere going joining the military.
I did. I did. It was a crazy thought. I actually told my parents, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere where I can have my own say. I'm going to go in the military.
Wow, you really thought that?
I really did. Boy, how gullible was I, right?
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, went in, and they did. My parents looked at me and laughed too, and I went in, and it was a whole new world. Yeah, it just made my parents look like a party house or something.
You
you
a
know,
basic training, you're like, I wish I could go home now. My parents weren't that bad.
right? I
Yeah.
did. I did, but
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. I loved the just the dedication of it. They stripped you, yes, they stripped you of all of your individualness, and they were going to turn you into a part of the team, something bigger,
Hmm.
and it was the greatest thing I've ever done.
There you go. And you served
Yes.
7 years in Desert Storm. What was that like?
Oh gosh, I did total of 7 years, but Desert Shield, Desert Storm was under
Hmm.
General Storm and Norman was a
Oh
whole
yeah,
90 days.
yeah.
And I mean, we went through, and I was in an aviation unit, so we had all the
Hmm.
Blackhawks and Apaches, everything.
Hmm.
And so we went out there and supported 82nd Airborne. Every time 82nd would jump, and jump is when they would move forward into the battle. So every
Hmm.
time they would jump, we would have to jump with them, not out of the plane, but they did that. They were
Hmm.
the ones jumping, but we would move on the ground
Hmm.
and give them support, anything that they needed.
There you go. You got to have support for that stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a fine little war. That
Yep,
first
man.
one.
I don't even know if it was a war half the time.
Yeah,
It was so fast.
it was so fast. My understanding is the Russians saw it and went, "Yeah, we need to give this thing up and try and quit competing with them." My
Yeah.
understanding was they saw that our missiles had like video screens on them or whatever, video
Uh-huh.
recorders, and they're
Uh-huh.
like, "Yeah, we're not. Yeah, it's time to
We're
just
not jumping in this. No.
we're giving this USSR thing up."
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
and
We
then
had the French there, and they had, oh my gosh, they had the best MREs there. We would trade
oh
them.
really?
We would give ours to them, and they would hand theirs over. And man, they would have at the time, you'd have smokes in there, you'd have candy, you'd have
Ah,
dessert in there. Ours were just like these dehydrated meals, and you're just like, yeah, here you go. Let me take one of yours.
I joke with the French because they surrendered in the first two world wars.
Yes.
So they did put up a resistance, so I can't give them full shame. But
Right.
I would be too worried that I'd always be checking their bags for white flags. Like, don't surrender.
Right.
We're winning. Don't surrender.
We think we're winning.
Don't give up like you did to Hitler. Anyway, that's a World War II joke, Gen
That
Z
is,
folks.
yes,
You
yes.
Gen Zers listen to the show. That's a World War II joke. There
Oh,
was
yes.
two of them. Check your history books. It's not on TikTok. Anyway, I kid the Gen Zers.
You
But
gotta, you
there you
gotta,
go.
you gotta
There you
teach
go.
them.
So, what? So, when did you start finding more about your relationship with God and religion? And as you were talking about your God, not your mom's God, when
Hmm.
did that kind of come to fruition?
When I gave my heart to the Lord, I don't know if you've ever heard of the prophet Kim Clement.
Mm,
He has talked about the times that we are in now. He passed away 2015,
mm,
but he gave a prophetic voice to everything that we're going on in America right now and all the exposure. And so I got saved through him by giving my heart to the Lord through him.
oh, really?
And yes, and then it was during that time of giving my heart to the Lord and hearing those poems, because when I came out of the military, I was filled with so much bitterness, so much anger, so
Oh,
much
really?
hurt.
Why?
Right. I had dealt with not only just the battle, but I also dealt with the R word that we had discussed prior.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Wow.
yes, I had dealt with that in the military. So there was MST, and those that are veterans listening to the show, you know what MST is.
Mm.
So it's military sexual trauma.
Oh no.
And so I had dealt with that. So when
Mm-hmm.
I got out, and I have a lot of injuries due to an accident in the military,
Mm-hmm.
is that when I got out, I felt so much loss in my life because it was like the military for me defined who I was. I was going to be a lifer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got out with anger and bitterness and hurt of everything that had happened. And the Lord, through all of the poems, began to say, all right, you know what? I'm going to grab everything that you've been screaming and yelling at me in your heart, and I'm going to turn it around and put it into poetry and show you who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I started reading those, I was like, whoa, this is a
Wow.
God that loves me.
Bit of
And there,
inspiration coming through there.
yes. So the healing began.
Wow. And you're just kind of self healing through, these poems that are coming to you and stuff.
Exactly. He just began to show me how much he loves each one of us, for who we are, because that's who he made us. And so the healing started. And now, I mean, I used to be pretty high rated PTSD,
Wow.
and I was on every type of medication there was.
Hmm.
I was going through all of the counselors, civilian and VA, and it wasn't enough. I mean, at one point, I had the VA security guards outside my counselor's door, and they're
Wow.
like, "Monica, if you don't calm down, we're going to put you upstairs on the seventh floor for a couple of hours."
Don't want that.
So right, so I was filled with so much anger, and
Hmm.
then the Lord just gradually got me off the meds, and He was like, "You don't need these.
Wow.
I am the way, the truth, and the life." And so I was like, yeah, okay. So I started just downing my doses bit by bit. And now
Hmm.
I've been like drug free of all of these medications that they give you for PTSD for about 5 years now.
Wow, that is awesome.
Right. Right.
That is awesome. And so it's really helped you through your journey, and you decided to share it so that it could help others.
Exactly, exactly, and also, Chris, I know that there is a lot of attention given to the guys, rightly so, who serve in the military,
Hmm.
and but I think that there is a lot of a lack of education in the fact that women do serve too.
Yeah.
We are out there serving too. If it wasn't for Desert Storm, because Desert Storm allowed women to get up there to the front lines. We had our female pilot that crashed, in Desert Storm. She
Hmm.
became the first prison female
Oh,
and
wow.
of that war. And
Prisoner of
so,
war.
yes, prisoner of war.
Hmm.
And so, women do serve, and everybody. You get on VA on the phone, you talk to them, and
Hmm.
they're like, "Can I speak to the veteran?" You're like, "You are. I am the veteran."
Oh, really? They do that to you? Oh,
They
no.
do that too.
Oh,
And
man.
so it's just bringing out the fact of women do serve too, you
Yeah.
know.
I think we have a
Uh,
lot of women in the military now.
we do.
I heard a figure recently. It's a huge percent. And yeah. And anybody who serves this country and puts their life on the line is a patriot in my book. And I
Mhm.
think we need to take care of them better. I know the VA has gotten better than it used to be. In the 90s, we used to do stat runs for our courier company for blood
Uh-huh.
and blood testing and body stuff testing. And somebody would be in an emergency room, and you'd have to go pick up their blood or the urine, and you have to race it to the blood testing facility so they could figure out what was going on
Uh-huh.
very quickly. And so we'd have to go to the VA and all the hospitals for to pick up stuff, and it was
Wow.
always like the morgue in there in the 90s. It was really bad. You'd
It
have people
was.
that had been there for like 4 hours, 5 hours
Oh,
waiting
geez.
in
Yes.
the waiting room, and hopefully they fixed some of that and a lot of it. But yeah, anything for our veterans, because it's just we need to treat our veterans way better. I mean, they need
Yeah.
more
Yeah, we
support.
do.
So many of them die every day, homeless. A lot of homeless veterans. PTSD is a big issue as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, well, I'm glad you found a way to help deal with the issues that you experienced. And now you live in Idaho.
Oh man, I live up in the great great mountains of Idaho.
Oh, there you go. It's a beautiful place.
It is. I have the pleasure of I'm literally up in the mountains of Idaho. Like we do not have Walmarts over here. We do not. We
I'm
don't
moving
have
to where you're at. I hate Walmart.
Oh my gosh, we don't have Walmarts. We don't have fast food restaurants here.
Really? Well,
We don't.
I
I
don't know
mean,
about that
we.
then.
we- it's all community support here,
Oh, there you go.
So
The old style of
the
Main
old
Street,
style,
Main Street
exactly.
town. Yeah, I go up to Sun Valley every now and then. That's nice
Oh
up there.
yes, it's beautiful there.
It's
Beautiful.
kind of turned pretty industrial though. It's kind of gone from a small town to bigger town. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's
You
still
got,
kind of small town. We used to
I,
we used to fly in for an event out where they hold the Allen and Company thing out at the Sun Valley Hotel, I think it is.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, and all the townspeople kind of look askance at you like you invader people. You're
Don't even invade
you
us.
weird you weird out of towners. You
Right?
and
Right?
yeah, we try and go into town and get drinks, and they're like, we're closed, eh? And we're like, damn it, what the hell kind of town is this? But it was always lovely
Exactly.
to go up there. Um,
Exactly.
so there you go. So what are your plans for future stuff? Do you have more poems coming that are you're being inspired to write, and maybe a second book?
No, actually, I've just started writing last week. It's another book coming out, and the title is
Mm,
called The Undaunting Pursuit of Christ.
mm,
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And this
yeah.
didn't come from myself. This was given to my heart by the Lord. And it's just been one of those where it's like, uh, I don't actually know what this means, Lord. You're gonna have to show me.
Fill in the blanks.
It is. It very much is. So it's a journey, personally in my walk with God. At the same time, it's a journey of writing it and going, "Wow, this is what I've learned in that undaunting pursuit."
There you go. Undaunting pursuit. Like
Yes,
just pursue Jesus like he owes you money.
exactly. There you go. Pursue Him
we do,
like the blessings He gives
we
us.
we do the jokes around here.
I know.
The Jesus, you owe me that $5, damn it. Anyway, um,
You have to get in the car to stay up with Him.
yeah, he's you know he's anyway. I don't have any more jokes, but what was the thing I was going to ask you about? Oh, tell us about your podcast.
Oh, great question. I'm doing a podcast called The Graceful Warrior. And it's the only podcast where we actually bring in the significance of the armor of God and how it applies to everybody's life daily.
Hmm.
And putting on that armor of God, because the Word of God says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I don't have a fight with Chris Voss. It is the spiritual realm,
Hmm.
the Satan and his demons. It's against the darkness.
Hmm.
That's where our battle is. And so it is teaching and encouraging our listeners, that you have to put on that armor of God, and each piece of that armor means something, to me, especially because as I learned it, I began to look at it as like my armor, what we wore, our flak vest, what we wore when we were in the fight in Iraq. And we had to wear a flak vest to protect our chest or for those incoming rounds that would come in,
Oh
our
yeah.
helmet, from anything. So I break it down to each piece of the armor of God, in the importance, and use the military's gear to help people understand it better.
Oh wow. Like an analogy or something. Is it
Exactly.
an analogy metaphor?
Yeah, an
Mm.
analogy. Yeah.
I flunked
And
English, so
oh geez. But
I'm
then on
foggy on the
Fridays,
skills.
on Friday, I interview guests from all over the world. We've had people from Africa, we've had people
Wow.
from Uganda, a lot of different places. So just bringing their stories in, and allowing them to share their testimonies, their heart, their trials and triumphs in life as well.
I love it. I love stories.
I do too.
It's interesting to hear how people go through their journey of life, the
It
choices they
is.
make, and there's so many different pathways you can go through life,
Oh
and
man.
so you talk to people and you're like, oh, why did you do that way? And you know, I think I'm just sick of my life, and other people's lives are more interesting. I'm 56, man. I'm over it. I don't
I'm
want to
only
hear
three
about.
years behind you. I'm only
Yeah,
3 years
I
behind
don't
you.
want to hear about my life. I don't want to hear about my life anymore. I want to hear about everybody else's lives. They think some people have better stories and they have better fun. It's more interesting. I know
It
what
is.
I did. It's like people are like, "What did you do, Chris?" I don't know. I'm tired of talking about it. People on the show are like, "No, he's not." Anyway, so what have we missed or that we should touch on so we can let people know about what you're up to and what you're doing?
Well, I think you covered it all. I also have a store called the
Hmm.
Graceful Swag, and
Oh,
and
the
you can
graceful swag.
the Graceful Swag. You got to get them Gen Zs again. The
Mm-hmm.
Graceful Swag. So we've got all of our T-shirts and coffee mugs, all of that sort that they can go ahead and purchase.
And where can they get that at?
That is graceful-swag.printify.me.
There you go. There you go. So you got the swag for all the stuff. You got all the details there and all that stuff. Good stuff going on. So this is going to be fun. We'll look for the new book. Do you have a plan yet on when the new book comes out?
I am giving it a year because we are just in the starting of this manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that's going to be a journey. It's got a little fear and trepidation to walk this journey, but I know that the Lord will be with me through this journey. It's a lesson in life.
There you go. Well, it should be fun, and we'll look forward to it. So give us your final pitch out to people order the book as we go out and all the .coms.
Hey, thank you for your invite on this show. And I just wanted to say to your viewers, hey, if you want to check out my book, you can grab that book, Captured by His Heart, on Amazon or Barnes and Noble as an ebook or as a paper book. So there you go.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Monica, for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Chris. You have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
Right.
Order up the book where fine books are sold. It's called Captured by His Heart, Poetry of Healing and Revelation. Out, let's see, it was out July.
Last month. Yeah, last month.
June 4th, 2024. There you go. I like to do that. Some people watch the show 5-10 years from now, and they'll write me and be like, that's not a new book. And I'm like, do you look at the date on the thing, man? Like, seriously. Like, people do that. I think there's 15 years now on YouTube, and people do that to us still. Like, there's somebody who was just writing a comment on some product that we reviewed, like, 10 years ago that should not be working now. And they're like, hey, we can't get it to work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that thing's 10 years old that you bought.
Look at the date, people. Look at the date, people. Come on.
They'll ask me all sorts of customer service. Do you know how to fix this? I'm like, what do we look like? And,
yeah. Maybe they just need that second cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do that with political books in the future. They're like, Clinton isn't president anymore, you dummy. And I don't know. It was when we interviewed whoever we interviewed about his book or something. I don't know.
Right.
So there you go. Yeah, they probably, if we've had people on that talked about Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, there's probably somebody's going to come on and be like, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
It's freaking YouTube. So there you go.
Oh,
thank you very
goodness.
much, Monica. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys.